Wonderful. So, welcome to our last in this series. We've been running these step into competition webinars um, for the last few weeks, and this is our last one in the series, Step into Showing. What are we going to cover tonight? Tonight we'll cover a quick guest introduction. We'll talk about why try showing with your ex-racehorse. A little bit very quickly about competition, ROR competition membership, and then we'll spend probably the most time on competitive opportunities, ROR competitions, obviously. So showing competitions specifically, and all the different classes that you can do. We'll talk a little bit about the ROR Step into Competition clinics as well. And then Katie has been very kind and is going to share some top tips with us. We've got a slide with some contacts on, and then we'll get to questions at the end. So, first of all, introducing Katie Jerram. Um, I'm assuming everybody knows who she is. I certainly do. We all do it within ROR. So Katie has lifelong experience in showing and racing, including training point-to-pointers and operating as permit holders under rules. Produced horses for the late Her Majesty the Queen for 20 years and now for the King, including retrained racehorses. Extensive success with ROR, winning nationwide at Hoy's, ROR Championships and the Hickstead Derby. And then obviously personal competitive success across point to points, ROR, and showing cobs, hunters, and riding horses. And Katie is passionate about retraining racehorses and developing riders with a strong commitment to teaching and sharing expertise across disciplines. So, welcome, Katie.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've done with your horses, with your RORs specifically?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm very passionate about the ROR, and have been lucky enough to source some lovely horses throughout my career. It's helped because I've known about racehorses because obviously the training, been very much involved with them and been lucky enough to do that. So I learned how important it is with the soundness with them to retrain them. For me, the amount of time I've been showing, and I've been showing since a small child, and it's sort of taught me after the racehorses, it gave them another career. And I think it's very important for the racehorses that once they've finished their career of racing, that they move on to another job. Over the last good few years, the RORs have made this possible, and it's been a fantastic series that I've followed since year dot and really enjoyed it. Every year I've had a sort of had the racehorses out there in the classes. And I think it's very important to understand that an ROR is a retraining of racehorses and it's a stepping stone to get them in the ring to compete as a show horse, whether it be a hack, a riding horse, a hunter, a working hunter, or the other disciplines that are also offered by the ROR. The RORs are fantastic. They offer so much experience for the racehorse and the future of the racehorse. And I think it's amazing that all the parades that are put up and seeing these racehorses go on for the future, I think it's very, very important. I'm here tonight to talk about, if anybody wants any questions answered, how I would retrain the horses. I'm very happy to share some of my knowledge that I've learned over the time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Katie. And we are also joined by Richard Ramsay, who's one of our judges and is on our, excuse me, show committee as well. So Richard is a panel judge for ROR, BSPS, BSHA, and Sport Horse GB. Obviously has extensive judging experience across the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. Has a long-standing career producing horses for the show ring before retirement, and has produced numerous champion horses at top level competition, and is the breeder of the Hoy Supreme Champion Soldier Brave. Richard, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you as well.
Great.
Do
Okay.
you want to just say a few words introducing yourself?
Yes, I've always, from as a boy, been passionate about racing as itself, and used to obviously avidly watch the Derby and anything else that in those days, of course, it was on BBC. And I still follow because I'm on racing TV and Sky Sports Racing, and I just love the thoroughbred horse, and been very lucky in that I've had to deal with some very, very nice thoroughbred horses over many, many years. And I think that there's almost nothing better than the thoroughbred. But I think what is so important and what ROR has done is these horses that we now see in plentiful supply in the show ring, eventing, dressaging, they had no future in the old days, and now they have a future. And I think it's very important that we get the job across as to educating all of the people who have ex-race horses into making them a horse that is retrained.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Richard. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the main part of it. So, um, I've done this on every single webinar that we've done, and we've asked why showing, or this time we've asked why eventing, why dressage, why endurance, why show jumping, and actually the top one for all of them is to improve his or her rideability, and also improve your knowledge, to have fun and to meet and make new friends, to be competitive and to qualify for a championship, and to progress up the levels of showing competitively, or all of the above. Um, a very quick part on ROR competition membership. If you want to take part in any of the ROR showing at all, then you need ROR competition membership. It's currently £25 per year. Riders need to be 15 years or over on the 1st of January of the year they wish to compete. And I've just to make it super easy, I've done an arrow as to where you need to go to on the website. So click on the Join ROR tab, and that should take you straight to being able to purchase competition membership. So ROR showing. Margaret, please interrupt me if I go astray at all. But I'm going to rattle through a little bit because we've got so much information um, on this webinar. So we're going to go through all the different classes that you can do, and obviously there's an awful lot of classes that there. So I'll just go through them and ask a few questions as we go along. Again, if you have any questions about them, please do pop them in the chat, and we'll come back to them at the end. So all of the different series that we've got. So we've got the open ridden, the Scottish open ridden, the amateur ridden, novice ridden. Then we've got the open in hand. We've also got the challenge, and then we've got the veteran ridden and in hand, and then the showing league to talk about at the end. Right. So first of all, the open ridden and the Scottish open ridden. Katie and Richard, if there's anything that you want to jump in with as I go through these slides, please do just shout. Feel free to interrupt me. Otherwise, I'll just be on transmit trying to get all the information out. So please do just jump in wherever you like. So the eligibility for this one is obviously GB raced horses only. Horses must be 4 years old or over, mares and geldings any height. Horses need to be fully shod. Remedial farrier in this one is not permitted. So it's judged under riding horse class rules where type, ride, manners and conformation are taken into account. The judge will ride. So one thing that we keep on returning to is the fact that when the judge rides, you need to make sure that you've got stirrups big enough for the judge to ride your horse in.
Also, can I just butt in? There was a
Of course.
query. Are they? There was a query that the novice classes weren't ridden. They were not to be ridden by a judge. Is that still the same?
The novice classes are ridden. Yeah,
They
we
are
do have
too.
a ride
Okay,
judge. Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
we do have a ride judge for the novice classes.
yeah.
We'll get to that in a moment. So yeah, for the open, we do have a ride judge. Blemishes in this class, racing injuries and blemishes are not ignored. And then we've got the championships, which are at the Hickstead Derby meeting for the open ridden, and then the Royal Highland Show for the Scottish Open. do you guys want to add anything in about the Open? Who is the Open for?
The Open is for, carry on.
Sorry, Katie, carry on. Yeah.
No, you carry on, Richard. Carry on.
The Open is for, I mean, obviously, the one that's a little bit tricky is the fact that you will have a big outstanding chasing type against your little flat racer. So it's quite difficult for a judge to actually get a pattern or a type because it's very much on how they go and how they ride. And obviously, with most of these horses, a lot of them are not young. They've been round the clock, so to speak. So it is the retraining that's important from that point of view. But it's very much the best conformation, the best ride, and the best manners.
Great. Okay, Katie?
Yeah, it's very important for to train them to go do the go rounds, and that when you get to the final, it can be quite exciting for them. A lot of horses going round at the same time, and you've got to train them that they actually can go round with the other horses, because you can have a lovely horse that'll ride round well on its own. If you haven't trained it to go in group sessions, then it can get quite irritable. Also, training them to stand in line for quite a period of time can be quite anxious for them. But you must, in your training period, put other people on your horse so that you've actually taught it to carry another person, because your thoroughbred could be absolutely fantastic with you, but in the ring you've got to jump off, put somebody else on, and expect them to carry the judge round absolutely perfectly. Sometimes they'll really try hard and sometimes over gallop them, so you've got to be prepared that the judge that you put them under is suitable for your horse. Is he ready for that, or is he not ready for that? And my feeling is when you put them into the finals, are they ready for it this year, or do you wait another year? Just because you've qualified doesn't mean to say that this year is your year. Make sure that he's well prepared and you don't go there and then get disappointed because you've done one step too far in your first season or second season. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 seasons. Enjoy the journey to get there, enjoy the shows that take you to get there, and make sure that she is prepared enough to actually do that final, and know that you're going to be in the ring for sometimes up to an hour and a half, and the horse is prepared for that and prepared for the whole situation, and going into the final at the Hickstead Derby, into the main ring. I haven't been to the Scottish Ridden Open one, but obviously the final championship will be pretty similar. And make sure that they're prepared for that, because it's a long journey retraining them, and you want to make sure that you don't ruin it in one fair session. You want to make sure they've been prepared for that day.
Fantastic. Thank you both. So am I right in thinking that the Open would be for essentially the most experienced horses, rather than the novice? I'm assuming that the novice, we've got the novice classes, more novice horses would go in that class.
You would be aiming your Open horses for the championships, and at the end of the year, the ROR champs, you've got the good novice series at the end, and that's a great one to head your novice horse to for the first season, unless you've got an exceptional one. But you've got years and years ahead of you, so don't, once you've ticked that box and if you've won that class, then you can't go back the next year. So don't burn it all in one year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Prepare yourself properly for it and make sure that you do the journey. Let him run the novice series first, she, and then sometimes I'll run my horses, the novice horses, also in the in-hand series to start with, to get more experience. Use all the opportunities to get them in the ring, to get them used to it, and that's my advice on that.
Yeah, I think following on from what Katie said, I think time is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she would agree with me. You see horses, not just in the ROR classes, but other horses overbitted, rushed in their preparation, and remembering that with your ex-racehorse, you are changing his lifestyle completely. And they take a lot of adjustment to that. So be patient, be very patient. Don't think you've got to get to Hickstead. etc., etc. You must give them time.
Yeah.
100%. And you have to remember, rushing them into the double bridle, a pelham, you've got a little bit of pole pressure, you've got lots of different asks, and running it in the novice series you can still run in a nice snaffle bridle, what he's been used to, and not overforce the horse. And that is my whole journey with an animal, is never rush it. You've got have the
Mm.
time, you've got a lovely horse and it's there for the future, not just there for the one season. Enjoy them and do the journey with them, because it's very disappointing taking your lovely baby that you've been so excited and just blowing a bubble in one go. And then it's hard to come back. So just
Mm.
Yeah.
remember, it is hard to come back. If they'll remember that your thoroughbred's your most brightest of horses, and you have a setback, and then you've got miles and miles to make to get him back where he is. So try to avoid any setbacks on your journey.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you both very much for the insight there. So let's move on from the open to the amateur. So for the amateur, obviously amateur is aimed at amateur riders. So the eligibility for horses here is that it's for all raced and trained horses. So your horse doesn't necessarily have to be have raced, and it doesn't have to have been raced within Great Britain. The horse needs to be 4 years or over, mares and geldings any height. Horses must be fully shod, but remedial farriery in this class is permitted. This is judged under riding horse format without type being taken into consideration. The judge will not be ridden. The horse will not be ridden by the judge in qualifiers, but they will ride at the championships. Racing injuries and blemishes are ignored. And then the final again is at the Hickstead Derby meeting. So Katie, do you want to talk a little bit about the amateur?
Yeah, the amateur, I'm passionate. There are new people coming into the sport, and that's where we all started. Everybody started as that. And I think it's a very important journey, and I'm delighted that it's been introduced to the RORs. It's I always say, as an amateur, don't feel just because you're an amateur you can't come and do the open classes, meaning all the other classes that we would be doing. Do your amateur, but do your other classes as well to start introducing. And a lot of amateurs have come through and won the big classes. So don't feel that's just your class and you shouldn't seek further. Um, so if you are going to do an individual show, perfect your show at home and make sure that you know where you're going. I always say, look at your ring before you get there, learn your ring, learn your route to your ring, what you're going to do. If the collecting ring is very, very busy, then do your work somewhere else, because sometimes that can blow their brains if horses are going from left to right, fully upsetting them. And make sure that where you're preparing them is in a sensible place. So when you get them in the ring, they're happy to go in the ring. And always ask your professionals, people you look up to, for advice along your journey, whether they're professionals in showing, eventing, dressage, show jumping, anything. Ask for advice along your way with your journey with your horse. If your horse is irritable, make sure that you've sort of worked out your feed regime with them. Is it the right feed it's on? Always check with your thoroughbred. Obviously, we need to be very, very aware ulcers along the journey. If they're irritable when they especially get to a show, and you then feel you've got to work your horse more than you do, is it sensible to do that, or is there an ulcer issue that the horse has got? So should you go back to your vet, speak to your vet, and then understand what's going on a little bit more? This is what I would do. I wouldn't rush your horse and feel when it gets there it's dripping with sweat. What do I do? Seek advice always along your journey. Is the feed you've put him on suitable for him? If not, go to a reputable feed company and explain your problem and ask them for which feed you should go on. So make sure that the journey you take is a sensible journey along to get to the ring.
Wonderful, Katie. Thank you. We'll talk a little bit about what management at the end as well, I think, because it's such a big part of getting your horse into the show ring, isn't it?
Massively.
Yeah. Okay, so the novice ridden, we've touched a little bit on the novice already, but I'll just go over it. This is for GB raced horses only. Horses must be 4 years or over. Mares and geldings any height again. Horses must be fully shod as it's a ridden class. And then remedial farrier is not permitted in this one. I'm not going to go through all of the qualifying stuff here that's written there, but the horses will ride, the judges will ride the horses in the novice. Racing injuries and blemishes are not ignored, and the final is at the Jockey Club ROR National Championships at Aintree in August. Richard, do you want to talk a little bit about the novice?
There's been a lot of controversy about judges riding the novices, but I think it sets a standard to what I call school the horses to be what I call judge proof. And let's face it, in all the other showing adult classes, hacks, cobs, hunters, riding horses, your novice classes are ridden with one or two exceptions at the various championships. But it is important that you prepare the horse, as Katie was saying earlier. You need to get capable people, friends of yours, to also sit on your horse before it actually goes to that first show. All judges ride slightly differently. So one judge will ride on a great loopy rein, another judge will pick up the reins, etc., etc. And it's quite difficult, and Katie, I think, will agree, it's quite an art to make a horse judge-proof.
Massively.
But I do think that it does set a standard, and I think that the preparation is so important, and it's so good for the horses to have that goal that they are ridden by a judge.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next one. So the challenge class, this is a really fun class. So all raced and trained horses can enter the challenge class, 4 years and older again, any height, mares and geldings. Horses must be fully shod, and remedial farriery is permitted. So this is a jumping class. You're asked to jump a course of fences, 70 to 80 centimetres in height, and that will be followed by an individual freestyle show. The horse will not be ridden by a judge in qualifiers or at the championships, and injuries and blemishes are ignored. So the final for this one is at Aintree, and then the fences go up a little bit in the final to 85 centimetres. Who wants to have this one? Katie, do you want to talk about the challenge?
I'll speak about the challenge, yeah. I think it's again a great class that's been added. And the challenge brings more people in from eventing and starts introducing more people to showing, which I'm delighted about. So people that haven't been to do our show series before have started to come across to it, which is absolutely fantastic. It's good for your horse. Some horses don't take purely to the flat class and want to do a little bit more. Also, some of the riders like to do a little bit more to give them a little bit more of the challenge. The fences are all encouraging. It's important when you're judging. If I was judging the class, you don't want to see a horse show jumping around. You want it to flow around the track, looking forward, looking through its bridle, and doing a super jumping round. You will get marked on your style, and it's very important. Make the nice shape, but you're not fiddling too much, and just let him lob round as if he's in the hunting field. Just lob round and have an absolutely super time. It's only a small track. But make sure that when you've done your tracks outside, before you go to the final, when you go to Aintree, we're indoors. So make sure you've done some indoor jumping as well. So your horse is used to both jumping on the grass and on a surface, would be my advice on that. And just, it's great. Anybody that's, got some flat horses they do it with, just, go and have a go at it. I think it's a great opportunity to just do a little bit more.
Fantastic. Thank you, Katie. And it is such a fun class. It was really special to watch last year as well at the championships. So the in hand, this class is huge at the championships. I was absolutely amazed by the number of horses that came forward. So it's open to all raced and trained horses. Horses must be over 4 years. Mares and geldings any height. Horses do not need to be shod or fully shod. Um, they injuries, racing injuries and blemishes are ignored, and they come forward for the final at the national championships at Aintree in August. Richard, do you want to talk a little bit about the open in hand?
Yeah, it's such a popular class. I mean, it really is fantastic, and it's a very good way of getting your ex-race horse to a show, and without the pressure of it being ridden. And obviously, so many of our shows are so buzzy and electric these days. It can really, what I call, put their mind back to their racing days. So it's a very good way of just getting the horse to quietly go in the ring. You need to have a lot of practice running in hand. This is very important because you need to be able to stand the horse up correctly to enable the judge to see it all the way round. And you need to make sure that it walks and trots with you in hand, doesn't tank off or lag behind you, which of course is very dangerous. But it is a good stepping stone. I think a lot of the horses have done the in hand class before they even set foot in the ridden classes. And I do think it's important. But again, you get a mixture of types. Though there are at Aintree quite a lot of classes, hack type, etc., which I think is a very good thing. But some of these horses maybe aren't suitable to be ridden. There are the odd one or two. So, but the in hand is a very good solution for that purpose.
Absolutely, and it's so lovely watching them all come forward as well, all different shapes and sizes of horse, and they all just walking around. It just is so nice to see such a huge collection of them all together. Um, so the veteran, um, I have to say, I think the bottom bit is definitely new for 2026. But I remember watching the veteran go round at Aintree last year and thinking how wonderful he looked in the on this Saturday evening performance. So it's all at the national championships at Aintree on Saturday, the 22nd of August. So to qualify for the ridden, you need to be the highest placed 15 years or over former racehorse, not the oldest in the class. In any of the following qualifiers, so the open ridden, Scottish open ridden, sorry, the challenge or the amateur. And then for the in hand, you obviously need to take part in the open in hand show series qualifiers. Katie, do you want to talk a little bit about the veterans?
Yeah, I think it's lovely. Again, it's like any of them. It's great to see the older horses still enjoying their job. For instance, I have my old boy. I don't. He's retired, so I'm not allowed to bring him back out as a as a veteran. But if I could have done, I would have loved to have used this series because when they've served you well throughout their career, whether it be a racehorse in its further career, suddenly when they come to their latter end of their career and they're not doing anything, I think it's absolutely great that they're still looked after, put on the lorry, and I think it's great to be out there seeing that they're looked after till the end of their days. And I just think it's a great series to have out there and make sure that people do look after them. Use this series
Yeah,
as much as possible. I think it's very important.
absolutely. I completely agree. And it is lovely to see them out there and looking so well. So I'll talk a little bit about this. We've gone through all the Tattersalls classes now. So we have a showing league. So you might know anyone who's been a member of ROR for a while. We run our show jumping and dressage and arena eventing leagues. So we're adding a showing league. So this is for anyone who is essentially competing in any showing class, ridden. This is not in hand. So it's whether you're out there doing the unaffiliated showing and you've placed, you've placed quite well throughout the season at the unaffiliated showing, you need to register with us for the showing league. You can then come forward for the championship, which is being held at the Winter Championships at Pickering Grange on the 17th to the 19th of April. So this is essentially to encourage anyone and anyone to come and have a go at showing, and is ideally like a stepping stone into the classes, the series that we've just talked about. So it's open to all competition registered horses. So, and it's also open to barefoot and partially shod horses. But we won't allow hoof boots, and remedial farriery is permitted. But the stipulation is that horses must not have won an open ridden class. Everyone else, though, all other horses are eligible to come forward for this. The ride judge, the ride judge won't ride at all. Sorry, we won't have a ride judge. They'll be judged on conformation and way of going. Blemishes and racing injuries are ignored. This is the first time that we're going to be holding this, so it would be lovely to see quite a few people come forward for it. To register, you need to go onto the ROR website and go onto the leagues bit, and you just submit an online form. But you'll need to submit photo evidence of the scoreboard or screenshot of online results just to prove that you've been out and you've essentially qualified by coming, being placed in any unaffiliated show around the country. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in an ex-racehorse class. Whatever you show your horse as, you can use those results as your qualification. So it would be really lovely to see lots of people come forward for that. So this is the bit where I really need everyone's help, Katie and Richard, talking about the type of horse that you have and how do you recognize what kind of horse you have.
Okay.
Katie, you look poised and ready to go. So do you want to talk a little bit about the hunters?
Yeah, I can talk about the hunter. So for me, a hunter has to have, so you've got in front of us, you've got a lightweight hunter, which is lovely, which typically should be around about 16.1, 16.2 to carry 12 stone 7. You want a horse to have enough bone for its upper body. This horse is lovely. It's got a great shoulder and a good length of rein. What I like as a ride judge, as a competitor, anything that I'm retraining has to have the shoulder angle that you can see on a super angle, which this horse has. So not only then does the neck come out in the right place to carry its frame, but it also, by the shoulder angles, it's got super mobility through its shoulder, which is really important. Every show animal, hunter, or anything has to have a decent depth of girth. And again, all these three have super depth of girth, but I'm obviously talking about my hunter. He fits into a box, which is lovely. It looks like he engages really, really well. And he's a really nice stamp of horse. And a proper lightweight. I could also see him, if he turned his hat to another career, he would make a super ladies size saddle horse because he's got a super front, a nice length of back, and he just looks a very comfy sit for somebody. So a really nice stamp. But that's the difference between him and then we have our hack, which is just very, very elegant. This would be a small hack, I believe. It might be a large hack. So our small hack's up to 15 hands and our large hack's up to 15.3. So I'm not a metric person because I'm old. So we'll have to just forget that where I go on that. This is lovely. Do you want me to talk about the hack too?
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, this is a super horse. It's got, again, you've got all these three horses. They've all got good angles of shoulders, good length of rein. They carry their heads beautifully to the vertical. The shoulders come out of a great place. So they've got great elevation through the shoulder. They've got the depth of girth, nice length, fit a decent, nice size rider on top, and they've all got strong back ends. So the difference between your three, your hunter is up to 16.1, 16.2, your hacks, small hacks 15 hands, large hacks 15.3. At the bottom corner, your riding horses 15.2 or 15.2 and over for a large riding horse. And that's the difference is on the size. Everything has to have enough bone for its upper body. But our hack would be our more elegant of the lot of the horses. My riding horse would go similar. If you blew that riding horse up to 16-1, 16-2, he would also make, a lovely pattern of a hunter. It looks like it's got bone, frame the two of them together, but it's not, because it's a little horse and it's just, it's a riding horse the size it is.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And we've got some descriptions on there as well that I won't go through now, because we'll get to the next slide. But thank you, Katie. And last time we talked about this, the panel were very keen to refer people to the British Show Horse Association rulebook, just for clarification on this.
And the hunter, obviously, to Sports Horse GB.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Okay.
actually, it's both, isn't it? Sports Horse and Show Horse Association for the hunters.
Yes, yes.
The only thing I would just quickly add to that is that the hack has got to be very highly schooled.
Yes,
because
thank you, Richard.
it's supposed to be the ultimate ride. And the other thing is, all of these horses, hunter, hack, riding horse, they must be good straight movers.
Yeah.
So if you've got a horse with a twisted foreleg, you're a little bit on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Okay, so this is where I hope we've got it all right. Ridden, tack, and turnout. So in terms of we can go over the saddle and everything as well. I deliberately didn't add that in because it would just be too much information on one slide. But I've talked a little bit about the coloured jacket that you need to wear, and the whether or not you have a plain or coloured brow band. But ultimately, in all classes, you need to wear a current safety standard hat with a chin strap. Unless you sign a dispensation to be able to ride in another kind of hat for an evening performance. I think that's right.
Yeah, the hack should be not in a collar and tie in the evening performance. It should be in a stock, neatly tied stock, which is just where I would say that on that one, because a stock is seen right is an evening dress. You wouldn't wear a tie with a top hat.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yes, absolutely. That's very true. So in all situations, in all classes, I believe you need to wear fawn cream or buff breeches, beige breeches, not white breeches.
Yeah.
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 And then boots, plain black or brown riding boots with a garter strap. Is there a preference between black or brown?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then gloves, brown, fawn, or tan, and then a showing cane is standard rather than a normal whip. And this came up when we did our national championship webinar last year. The topic of what grooms should wear when they come in to help with if the horses are stripped. And Richard very eloquently told everybody that grooms should not be wearing boob tubes. I remember that. So grooms should also be neatly turned out, and they also need a hat on, don't they?
Yes.
A hard hat. Yeah, absolutely. But all I can say is if you have any questions about turnout, and how your horses turned out or how you are turned out yourself, there are so many people around the country that will be so willing to help you and answer any questions. Again, we'll come on to it at the end. If you're really worried about it, try and get to one of our step into showing clinics, and because we've got really friendly judges and coaches that will know all of the answers to all of this kind of stuff. They'll be able to tell you whether your horse is a riding horse, a hunter, a hack, and they'll be able to tell you exactly how to turn your horse out and yourself out. In hand turnout, just very quickly again. So even though your horse is in hand, you do still need a current safety standard hat with a chin strap. Jacket or waistcoat? Do you have a preference, Katie?
Jacket, definitely not waistcoat.
See, lots of people.
Even if it's on a hot day, a tweed jacket.
Okay. And trousers? Have you got any preference on trousers?
Yeah,
Beige.
some smart slacks, wouldn't you
Yeah.
say, Katie?
Corduroy.
Smart slacks and shoes or boots that you can actually run in.
Yes.
I mean, don't go in the ring with sneakers or anything like that, because if you get trodden on, you'll know about it.
Yeah.
So what I call a good stout shoe that you can run in.
Yeah. 100%.
Absolutely. And it says it's showing cane optional. Do you usually take your showing cane in?
You should always carry a cane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. And excuse me, for the challenge, just very quickly again, plaited, tails pulled or plaited, martingales
Either.
are allowed.
Yes.
No gag bits, but and no hind boots.
Yep.
Yeah, all good. Okay, fantastic. So step into competition clinics. We've got through that really well, guys, because we've got so many questions coming through. I'm really keen to get to the questions. Step into competition clinics. As I said just now, if you are new to showing, or even if you just want to get out and get some tips on how to ring craft or how best to present your horse, or have just a new set of eyes on your horse, please do try and come to one of our step into showing clinics. It's essentially like it's like a mock competition with a qualified coach and showing judge, and you'll get advice on all the different aspects of competing. Or if you just come with a list of questions, ask all your. It's a really good opportunity to get all your questions answered. And like I said, all levels are catered for. So great for those just starting on their showing journey, as well as more experienced combinations. And these are running from March until June. We won't be running through the summer because everybody's busy out competing in the summer. So please, if you want to come to one of these, please get booked in ASAP. Book via Horse Monkey. We have got I'll hand over in a second to the RDOs just to talk about what they've got on in their regions. But again, if you've got any queries about what's on in your region, it will be on Horse Monkey. But if you absolutely cannot find anything, please do contact your local RDO. So I am just going to quickly ask the RDOs to go through what they've got on. Natalie, you're the first on my screen.
Hello, so I'm based in the southeast. We have got 3 currently booked in, all with Jodie, Soul, and Abby, who are very well known in the showing, and they have done quite a lot of work with former racehorses and teach quite a lot around Newmarket already. So they're very experienced, very lovely, and very helpful. So they will help anyone with any question, no matter how stupid it may be. We've got them booked in for 3 events. The first is on the 21st of March at Knott Hill in Bedfordshire. The next one is on the 18th of April at Cobham Manor in Kent. And the third is at them in Newmarket at the National Horse Racing Museum on the 3rd of May. We're looking to book one more in sort of around the east of the M25 as well. So that should hopefully cover the area the best we can.
That's great. Thank you, Natalie. Rowley, you're next on my screen in the southwest.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Yes, so Southwest covering from Cornwall up to Hampshire. We've got 5 events planned at the moment. The first one starts a little bit early. That's 23rd of February. That's out on Horse Monkey this evening. And that is in preparation for an unaffiliated show that takes place on the 1st of March. Now, this is at a new venue. It's been recently bought by a new team. This is the Grange near Oakhampton. And on the 23rd, we've got Andrew Lovell taking everybody through how to prepare for the show, tack turnout, and all those things. Very much a 2-way, very relaxed session there. And that's running from 4 till 6, catering for both in hand for 1 hour's class and ridden class there. Following that, so we brought that forward. That's 23rd of April. We brought that forward so that you can be ready for, at the same location, the Grange near Oakhampton, for an unaffiliated show. And that's being run actually by that location. I just thought it'd be really helpful to have some help and advice before you go to that show. And as you've heard, you could use that show to qualify as well later on. Now, also, it's been really helpful, and I please encourage you to do so. Good number of members are really excited about this showing Step Into, and they've given me encouragement to make contact with Matthew Lawrence. And so we're looking to do something in March to April time with Matthew, maybe one or two, possibly at Stretchell, which is near Bridport. Going further east, we have Miss Lucinda Sims, and we've got two showing clinics there. The first, it'll go in two parts, a morning session where we go through how to behave, how to present your horse, both in hand and ridden, and all the do's and don'ts. And then in the afternoon, we've got two mock shows that will be taking place. So those two with Lucinda, as I say, near Andover in Hampshire, 25th of April and the 16th of May. Thank you.
Thank you, Roly. Debbie in the north.
Hello. So we've got a few coming up. We start off in March, and that is with Helen Taylor, and she's going to run a few of these for us. So that's at Edenthorpe Equestrian, and they will be in small groups, and they can be in hand or ridden. And so that's on the 7th of March. We've got another one with her on the 4th of April, and another 9th of May, and finally 7th of June. We've also got Jacqueline Williamson, and we're running one with in conjunction with ROR Scotland. So that's just over the border at Brecon Beds Equestrian. So that's right north, but it's technically in Scotland. But it'll hopefully suit our North Cumbrian members. So that's on the 15th of March. And then Jacqueline is actually running another one for us at Greenlands in Cumbria on the 26th of April. And then we have another one at Dalton Piercy with Di Drysdale on the 22nd of March. And another one on the 19th of April at the same venue with Di. And then I think finally we have one, where's it gone? Again in conjunction with ROR Scotland at Park End Equestrian, so Charlotte Ridley's place. We've got one with Will Murray there. So again, these can either be in hand or ridden. You just need to make a note of that, and then we can pair you, group you accordingly. So please, when booking, and just book as early as possible, because it really does help our planning with these events.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you very much, Debbie. Amy in Wales.
Yeah, hi. So we in ROL Wales we cover Herefordshire and Shropshire as well. So the 7th of March is our first one, and that will hopefully suit some of our northern members in North Wales, just outside of Wrexham, not miles from the Shropshire border, and that's with Caroline Gill and ROR Judge. We've also got one on the 6th of June at Lincoln, which is actually being incorporated into our camp. So anybody that's already booked onto camp can attend and have a session. Again, it can even be unmounted if you're interested in doing the in-hand sessions. It can be anything down to questions about tack, turnout, ringcraft. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And that's also open to people to come in for the day as well. So you don't have to be booked onto camp. And Lincoln is just south of Kidderminster, so should be accessible for our Herefordshire and Shropshire members. We are looking at trying to get another one in South Wales, and hopefully that'll be posted as soon as possible.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amy. Unfortunately, Robin in the Midlands hasn't been able to join us tonight, but she has sent me a couple of the ones that she's got booked. So on the 4th of April, she's got one with Ian Smith at Bromyard, and that's on Horse Monkey at the moment, ready to book. Then at Easter, she's got one at Broadstone. I don't think this one's on Horse Monkey yet. Broadstone Equestrian with Rachel Turner. And then she's got one between Sleaford and Grantham. And then that's easy access from Lincolnshire. We just need a coach to confirm for that one, but that will be on Horse Monkey as soon as it is confirmed. I'm just going to hand back over to Natalie quickly again, who will go over what's booked in Scotland.
Yeah, so Aileen unfortunately couldn't join us tonight, but she has, other than the ones that have already been mentioned by Debbie, there are two more booked in for Scotland. She's got one on the 5th of April at Dunroman Equestrian. You'll have to excuse me if I'm pronouncing these wrong. That is with Richard Telford. And she's also got one on the 23rd of May at Boganreath with Claire Chisman. Someone might be better at telling you where exactly they are in Scotland, but she's got those two booked in, ready to go.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Natalie. Okay, so hopefully there's something near you if you want to come to one of our clinics. So Katie's top tips. I'm going to ask Katie. Katie, you've got 5 minutes to go through as many top tips as you possibly can and talk to people about how best to prepare their horse.
How best to prepare your horse? You've just got to make sure that you've done all your homework. And clinics was on my list because you need to make sure they've come away from home, they've worked around with others, and you understand the horse and the group and had the advice of that. So that is top of my list to do that. Feeding is a massive part of your racehorse. You've got to make sure that when you buy a racehorse, if you've just bought it, you speak to the trainer, find out what kind of feed he's been on, and steadily introduce your new feeds to the horse. I would work closely with, I'm lucky, I work closely with Spillers, but you can work with any reputable feed company and they will give advice on what feeds you should use. Low starch feeds, low sugar, low molasses feeds for them. And make sure you get into a routine with your feeds and don't chop in and out with different feeds. Try and stick to the same food. My horses have been on the same feeds for years and years. For instance, Barbershop looks fantastic. He's 24. When he walked into my yard at 10 and a half, he's been on the same feed ever since. And I do believe it makes them a healthier gutted animal. Make sure that if you have a stressed animal, you check for ulcers. Don't blame a horse for being irritable, being naughty. Seek advice why your animal is naughty and work the engine from inside and read the horse. If the horse isn't feeling great, is there a reason it's not feeling great? When you buy, and moving on from that, when you buy your show horse, it's got to have fantastic conformation. Any animal that you have has to have a good set of feet to start with. Don't have a foot, you don't have a horse basically to do any of these jobs. So make sure that the animal has a good foot. If it has a weak foot, maybe put it on some biotin or some foot supplements to help grow a little bit more, because some of your thoroughbreds can be quite flat-footed. So yes, it's great that all the horses have to be shod. Make sure you keep them shod and keep them supported up. Then you will go into the angles of your pasterns, your cannon bone. Don't want too long a cannon bone. Angles of the pastern, you don't want too long a pastern, because yes, it gives a very comfy, spongy ride, but it'll also cause joint problems on your animal. So make sure that you have an animal not upright, just with a super angle, nice short cannon bone, and then the upper arm, it's got a broad chest, nice muscly upper arm. Then you go to the back leg, the same, lovely defined hock, super angles to your hock. Curbs, always look at, because they are a no-no in showing, even if it says blemishes are not important. If I'm a judge, if a horse had a curb, I would have a problem to have it over clean horses. And I think that's something to be aware of, because your clean horse that has good conformation, moves well, has manners, has movement, has everything, is always going to be the line. When you go from your limb up, an animal has to have a good angle of shoulder. Your neck wants to come out of your shoulder at a super position, so that when you ride it, it rides uphill. You look at your shoulder and always think, if your shoulder is not a big shoulder. The saddle's going to sit on top of the shoulder, and your animal's going to look shorter fronted. Any of those animals you go back to look at, for instance, this animal that's in front of us now, the first one standing there, great angle of shoulder, neck comes out at a super place, and it's got a super length of neck. Nice length from underneath, and it's got a nice jowl. So when your rider connects it up, it's going to connect up into a super angle. When you go back from the shoulder, you want an animal that when I get on as a judge or as I get on as a competitor, you feel it's very important when your judge gets on, you sit in the middle of your animal and you feel comfortable the minute you walk away. So that basically is the confirmation I'd want. And it's free, it moves away, it pushes from behind and it lifts in front, it takes the weight behind. So your horse that you're putting into has all these attributes that you know it's well worth retraining into that job. If he naturally runs on the forehand, he's always going to run there. Yes, you can lift it up, but it's never going to have that sit up, look at me. And for a show horse, it has to have that sit up and look at me. And this particular horse, I don't know which one it is. For me, if I was retraining that, I'd say straight away, I'd really like to sit on that. And say, look at a picture, would it suit you or not? And you can tell before you've even gone to look at one whether it's going to suit you before. And then you see the movement. If a horse doesn't move, you're not really going to get much movement out of it. They should naturally move. And I like to see them when I go to buy a horse, walk up, drop back, and I like to see the freedom, the straightness, the angles of the foot that hits the ground, listen to how he goes on the tarmac. Is it level sounding with its feet? If it doesn't sound level, he's putting his foot down awkwardly. Be aware of all these issues. So if I'm short of time, I can't go on more than that. Watch people, ask lots of questions, turn out tips. We have gone through an awful lot. Yep. There is so much to learn, but look at people, ask, get advice on what he is, what type of horse it is, how to dress it up, and where should I go? Because it's important in your ROR class. Yes, it is a retrained race course, but it should be dressed going to be the animal that's being retrained to be, as it is a hack, a riding horse, a hunter.
Marvellous. Thank you so much.
Sorry, a bit rushed.
That's okay. That's all right. This one was always going to be hard to squeeze all the information into an hour or so. Okay, before we take questions, I'm just going to leave the contacts up there for a moment, just so that anyone who's interested can get in touch with their RDOs, or Margaret, who's our showing operations exec, who is here to answer any questions that might need specific ROR knowledge, behind the scenes knowledge. And then my email's at the top, just in case I can help you for whatever reason. Right, let's get into the questions. There are a lot to get through. I've answered a few already, but if we can, so I might come to like Katie and Richard alternately, just to try and get through them. And if there's something that you would really want to jump in on, please do just let me know, and we'll try and get through these questions. Thank you very much for all the questions that have come in so far. So the first one that came in, goodness, we could spend quite a long time on this one. In a long lineup of bays, what do you both suggest you do to make your horse stand out from the crowd?
Richard, you or me? Richard?
Yeah. I'm happy to do this. First of all, condition. The horse must have a top line. Its coat must be what I call fantastic. And I must say, if you watch racing on television, you see the skin on those horses is amazing. And you've got to try and replicate that. Obviously, your turnout and the horse's turnout have got to be immaculate. So in other words, if you've got a scruffy blouse and a tie halfway down your chest, as it were, and grubby breeches, it's not going to look good. You have got to walk into that ring with your horse immaculately plaited, tail pulled or plaited, and really, really the tack beautifully clean, the saddle fitting correctly. All these are things that you have to go into. And one thing to add on to what Katie was saying, do get help. There are loads of people who are very knowledgeable around the country. Even as an amateur, there's nothing to stop you having 7 lessons a week if you want to. And it is so important that you don't just try and do it off your bat, as it were. Do get help. If you've got a nice horse, that could go and win at the Horse of the Year show. And so therefore you must leave no stone unturned in that thing. But it is that picture. Remember, when a judge is judging, the first picture they get is of your horse walking in the ring. And that is where you can start. And you want to have a picture that the judge says, God, I like that. And hopefully it goes on from there.
Thank you so much, Richard. Hopefully, yeah, that I'm sure that's answered the question. So the next question is from Amanda, and she says, "Hi, new ROR rider here. Very keen to do some showing with my ex-racer in the coming season. I have a question on saddles and wondered whether to compete in my GP or dressage saddle to begin with. I would be eventually open to getting a showing saddle once I've seen how he copes in the showing environment, but wondered what was best to use in the meantime."
If you use
Katie, do you
one
want
of
to
the
go?
two, yeah, can I go on there?
Yeah,
If you
you go.
use one of the two, it would be preferable to use your GP over your dressage
Yeah.
saddle. Sorry, you'd agree with that, Richard, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, because some of the dressage
Yeah.
saddles, I think,
Yeah.
are marvelous. So,
And you would maybe have an ex-jockey that really wouldn't feel comfortable putting
exactly.
himself in that saddle, whereas a GP he would.
Fantastic. Great answer. Okay, thank you. Evie has said, do you think there will ever be an open or novice class that unraced but trained horses will be allowed to compete in to allow non-amateurs to show unraced horses? Richard, do you want to take that one?
Yes, I mean, every time we have an ROR showing committee meeting, we discuss this, and it's certainly one of those things that's very much on the cards. I think Margaret will agree on that one. And so what I call watch this space, because we're always looking to improve things and go further. So do keep an eye open on the website.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I hope that answers that, Evie. And then we've got a question here from an anonymous attendee. So they've said a couple of years ago at the Scottish final, the judge picked her top 10 and refused to ride anything else. The others could have done their own show or just leave. Obviously very disappointing as it was the Scottish final. Is this something that has been rectified to ensure it won't happen again?
I answer?
Yeah, Katie, go.
I find that very disappointing.
No,
Sorry for the person that went to that show, because my feeling is they're there for the judge to ride and they should have been ridden. So I think it's very disappointing that the judge didn't. Maybe the horses weren't behaving. Maybe there was a reason why she didn't. Would need looking into more. But I do think that you should ride. You're there as a ride judge and you should ride from first to last. And every show that I've been at, it has happened. If a horse isn't ridden, it's normally because they've, as I say, misbehaved and there's a reason why. But that is disappointing to hear, because at the championships at the end of the year, the judge is there to do that job.
So that was 2024, and that won't happen again.
Fantastic
So
news.
we've taken steps to make sure it didn't happen in 25, it won't happen in 26. So that's not going to happen again. But the competitors coming forward for the Royal Highland, though, need to remember it is a very, very lively ring. And as Katie mentioned earlier, there's no point bringing your horse forward if he's not ready. So it's just to bear in mind. We did run a webinar last year for all the entrants to the Royal Highland and are people thinking of entering, and hopefully we'll do the same this year. So
We
it's
will
just
do
to
the
manage
same
it.
again, yeah.
Can I add back onto that? And it's very important when a ride judge is supposed to ride the mounts. If they're not prepared enough, and as competitors have to remember we mustn't put our ride judges at risk.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So then Michelle has asked what the difference is between Hickstead and Aintree Championships. Richard, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, the point is that the Hickstead Championship is in June, which is actually quite early. So obviously horses will have qualified for it this last autumn in 25, and then they can go through. But the qualifiers for Aintree go on a lot longer, and the horses can qualify for it much later than actual Hickstead. But obviously, with the Aintree one, you've got far more classes to be catered for and for your horse to be entered for. So that's the difference, is there's a greater variety of classes that you can do, whereas the Hickstead is national hunt flat, split and amateurs, but that is it. And if you, I forget, Margaret will know when the qualifiers for Hickstead finish.
They finish on June the 2nd this year.
Yeah,
So Hickstead is for the open ridden and the amateur ridden. And as
yeah.
Richard said, both classes are divided into flat and national hunt. And then the top three from each class go into the main arena for the final judging. And
Great.
then Aintree, you have the novice, the challenge, and the open in hand finals are there on the 22nd of August. And you can qualify for those up until the beginning of August, so the 1st of August.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next question is from Dawn. And she says, for the amateur, is there still a confirmation strip off part?
Yes. Yeah. The horses do a show, but they are stripped for confirmation. It does mean, obviously, that in the amateur classes, racing injuries are ignored, but it still comes down to how well your horse goes and how it's presented.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Excuse me, I just had a bit of a cough. So Elaine has got two questions here. So the first one is, why do the horses have to be shod all round? Who wants to take that one?
I'm happy to take. Are you happy to take that? I'm happy to take that.
Mm.
I think with the thoroughbred, it's very important that a horse is shod because they have got flatter feet. Within Sports Horse GB, it's been a rule that's been in there for an awful long time, and I think it's important. There's for a judge to ride a horse that's not shod, they can slip, dangerous. So the reasons are for soundness, looking after the feet, and safety of our ride judge on top. And if you're going to shoe it in front, shoe it behind, support your horse, and make sure that they're looked after properly.
Great, thank you. And another one from Elaine. Can you define an amateur? Maybe Margaret wants to take this one.
Yes.
Okay, so the definition is on the website, but I mean I can tell you what it is if you want.
Go for it, Margaret.
Okay. So an amateur may not show a horse owned or sponsored by a company or commercial firm. In addition, a person classed as an amateur must not be supported by a company in any way or act as brand ambassador without whether financial or in kind. An amateur is a person for the purpose of our ROR classes does not or has not during the current or previous season engaged in breeding, livery, buying or selling, dealing or hiring horses in a commercial capacity. Now, this is just for the show ring. Horses must not have been stabled at or reside in a professional producer's trainer's yard from the 1st of January 2025. Riders must not have ridden any animals produced by a professional trainer in the current or previous season. And by professional and trainer, it's not a racehorse trainer, it's a show, it's all to do with showing, because that does cause a bit of confusion. Horses and riders must not receive any help from a professional producer or trainer at a show in the current season. A rider who has ridden for a professional producer or trainer in the current or previous season must not have ridden horses at a show. And any breach of these rules will be taken seriously.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, so then Elaine again has said, oh, we've gone over how do you know what type your horse is. Hopefully that's been answered earlier on in the webinar. Can you please explain standing up for the judge? What does that mean?
In hand.
I'm guessing in hand, yeah.
Yes, so you've got to, it's very important, and it's important how you stand your horse, the frame that you stand it in. And again, this is what all your clinics and workshops have, which is why they're there, to train people how. Some people will just come and plonk a horse in front of you and say, you're looking at its conformation, but you're overlooking at the overall picture of the animal. And it's very important to stand its frame correctly from the near side when you're standing in front, that the legs are at a good angle, not standing 10-2 or pigeon-toed, and then from behind, not standing cow-hocked. You stand them exactly right all the way. There is an art standing them up, and some people will think, look, I've got my horse going beautifully. I don't need to practice that. You do need to practice that. It's very important to do that. And like Richard spoke earlier, teach them to walk away. They walk up to your shoulders to their shoulder. You turn round and you turn clockwise, and you run straight back to the judge, not running them over, and just go past and run away so they can see the way your horse moves. You can win a class or lose a class by doing a decent stand up and trot up. It is honestly as important as the horse giving a good ride. Because often, say at the big shows, you have a conformation judge and a ride judge, and you could stand out beautifully. If you haven't stood it up properly, you could lose the class by that. But if your conformation judge absolutely loves your horse, they'll stand and work for you to win that class. So wherever you are in the ring, you've got to be working to win that class at all times.
Wonderful. Thank you, Katie. Okay, so Victoria's got quite a few questions in one. I'm just going to ask for really concise answers for each of these questions, if that's okay, because we've got lots and lots to get through here. So Victoria's first question is, can you advise on tack for the in hand, please? So what kind of bridle?
I run mine in their show bridle.
Yeah.
What I would show them as.
Either a double or a snaffle.
What you'd show them as, yes.
But
Fantastic.
it can also be bitless, the bride.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. But that's not very safe, really. I would think that it looks much better if the horse has a bit in its mouth.
Okay. Thank you. Does the horse need to be in an... Okay, so we've got through that one. Do tails need to be pulled?
Pulled or plaited?
Pulled or plaited, yeah.
Is there a preference? Pulled is the preference.
If you want,
if they don't like a tail being pulled and it's dangerous, then plaited is acceptable. You won't lose a class by that.
No.
Okay, great. And is there an ideal number of plaits?
No.
Okay.
No.
And if you're just starting with a horse that's not completed their transformation yet, does it matter if they're not balanced much? Okay, so if they're not completely muscled up how you would like them to be eventually, does it matter if they're just starting their retraining journey versus,
no.
When they're...
Use the in-hand and novice series and get them going. If their brain is in the right place and you're not ruining their brain, it's important to get them out there and get them.
Yeah, and I think normally when you stand a horse up for a judge, they will ask you how long it's been out of training,
yes,
what its age is, and so on. And if you say, well, it was only came out a week ago, sort of thing, they would be lenient in the fact that they will realise that it's not in show condition.
Exactly.
Okay. Great, thank you. Emma has asked, what is meant by type being taken into consideration?
You type your horse is going to be riding horse, and it's important that you actually label them as the type, because there's no point having a hack in there dressed up like a hunter, because you want it to be dressed like a hack, and the riding horse equally, and your hunter the same. You want them dressed up to be going into their next discipline.
Okay, fantastic. So it means what we were talking about earlier, riding horse, hack, hunter.
Yeah, I think here, if you live near Katie, you're
Yeah.
going to get her to have a look at your horse and say it is whatever it is. And the same,
Exactly.
as I say, all these people who are running these webinars, these classes with all the different RDOs, they're being run by knowledgeable people. And so, that it's there. What do you think my horse is? And don't what I call take a guess at it. You really need to be sure that you're in the right category.
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. So Victoria said, what sort of things are the judges looking for in the in-hand classes, please? I think we've covered most of that. Anything else to add?
I
No,
think,
it's conformation, movement, soundness, and quality.
yes.
Okay,
And the overall picture of
Yeah.
wonderful. So we have an anonymous attendee who said, my horse dishes, is that acceptable?
be preferable not
Um,
to, but it depends on what else. I mean, be aware sometimes if you trot a horse back fast and it's get somebody when you're at home to look at it, because if you go a bit slower, does it just much? Does that make sense?
Oh, Katie, we've lost a bit of volume
yeah.
there.
Disguise it as much
There
as
you go.
possible. Because
Okay.
if you trot too fast, it'll dish more. So when you're doing your trot up in hand, make sure that you trot slower so that you don't go as fast, so the legs don't go all over the place. And maybe don't go directly, just just give yourself be streetwise with what you're doing with it, basically.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Kate has said, I'm really struggling to decide how to present my 15-3 Court Cave side mare. She's very pretty and elegant, though schooling is not yet perfect. She has had several ride judges and does behave well, but that hasn't been with me. Um, I have had her for just over 3 months, but winter hasn't been kind.
Well, it sounds to me like very much like a hack. 15-3, very elegant. Is it a very good mover? Um, and this again, it's not been out of training. She hasn't had it very long. So basically, forward and carry on with the schooling and
Yeah.
presenting it so it gets better.
Wonderful. Thank you. Alana has said, I think I might have missed the saddle section, but would you be able to do amateur county shows in a jumping saddle? That is the only
Yes.
saddle shape I find to fit my lad. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Wonderful. And then an anonymous attendee has said, are brown or black boots preferable?
Everything
Black or brown?
brown.
Brown?
Oh,
No,
are you talking? Sorry,
well,
you're talking not on the
sorry,
horse.
boots. No, black
Black,
boots.
black, black forbidden. You may wear
Um,
brown boots in a morning class, but it's really correct to wear black with gas straps. Sorry, I'm talking.
That's
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
but what you're getting now is a lot of people have these high-sided dressage boots,
yeah,
and in fact, that I'm afraid is par for the course, and we as judges accept them because let's face it, top boots are not cheap,
Yeah.
and if you've got one pair of boots, and if you're doing dressage as well as showing, then you've got to adapt.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you. And brown or black tack?
brown.
Brown,
Brown tack. Wonderful.
yeah.
And there was another question about pulled or plaited tails, but we've answered that. Shona has said colourful brow band for the showing part of the racehorse challenge or plain. So you'd use one bridle for the whole thing, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if it's a
Yeah.
riding horse stamp or a hack stamp, you can put a coloured brow band on. If it's a hunter stamp, you would do the same. So you would, according to what sort of stamp of animal it is, you could wear either. But I mean, majority of the horses will be wearing leather brow bands out there. But if it looks a lighter sort like a hack, then there's no reason why you can't put a coloured brow band on it.
Perfect. Thank you. And Rachel has said, as the in-hand classes are so huge, can't the classes be split into flat and national hunt?
I think that Margaret, at Aintree they are, aren't they?
Yeah,
And at Windsor.
yeah. So
And at Windsor. So I think again, it's very much down to the show organisers and secretaries. When they see their entries, they can easily split them.
yeah.
And I think that again, it's very nice if they are split into flat and national hub because you have got those slightly different types.
So in 2025, the final was split into flat and national hunt, and that's going to continue. And then, as Richard said, any show that has more than 20 entries in the in hand, they're more than welcome to split them, and we just send a second lot of prizes. And then that means that 6 horses qualify as opposed to 3.
Right.
Fantastic. Okay. And an anonymous attendee has said, what quarter marks are preferable? And where is the tail to be cut to?
It depends how they carry their tails. Always look how they're ridden. And a hack should just hang nicely and swing just around about the curb bone region. That's where I like them. Riding horse, the same. Hunters can be a little bit higher, so between the two. But they swing. But make sure you don't just cut the tail and think, right, I'm cutting it to there, because if they carry their tail high, then you're going to have a bad line. So look at your horse when it's ridden to where it does before you cut it, because once you've cut it, it's final. So yeah.
Great. And quarter marks?
Quarter marks, hacks are squares, little in a diamond shape. Hunters, riding horses are, I do 3 lines. Some people do 2 lines. Some people do 2 lines on a slight angle, depending on how you like it. Again, look at people's you can look at on social media, you'll look at their hunters and decide how you like it. But I always say, look at your horse's bottom and mark it up, whether for the lines for the riding horse or the hunter, does it fit 3 in? Does it fit 2 in? Don't overmark them up. And then shape them at the top. So you shape the angle of the top of the bottom and then finish them off with the shark's teeth coming down. And then your diamonds for your quarter markers, square checkers. Do your square checkers. Don't use one of those plastic things. Learn to do it properly. Wet the area. Put some gel on the area. Mark up. Do your shark's teeth. Do your shark's teeth on an angle. If you do them straight, so they go straight, it makes the hind look straight. Use your bottom of an animal like it's a piece of art. That's how I do. And practice it and make sure, because you can ruin the look of an animal. You can make its bottom look like it's sloping. You can make it look straight at the top. You can make it look straight in the hind leg. Practice the marks to make them perfect. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Practice makes perfect, certainly for quarter marks, doesn't it? Rachel says, why can't blemishes be okay in all ridden classes?
I think here you would say that you're trying to set a standard. So your novice and your open classes, you're looking for the cream of the cream, really. So therefore, you want horses that are going forward to Horse of the Year show, to the championships, that are basically not flawed in any way. And I think you've got to set a standard. If you allowed all the racing injuries in every single class, it would make it difficult then, and certainly from a judging point of view, even more difficult. So I think we have to, or I think we have at ROR decided that we have to have a standard at the very top.
Okay, thank you. Tamsin has said, I have a lovely 7-year-old, 17 hands high out of Scirocco. He's very well placed in his first year out of racing and unaffiliated. He runs quite hot and when traveling sweats. He doesn't wear a rug. So are there any tips for traveling to help reduce the sweating and ruining the hours of grooming?
Well, the one thing that I would say, if he stresses sometimes on the lorry, put one of the hoods on. Mine travel well if you put a hood on. And I often work mine at home in the hoods because they keep them in themselves and they stop the stress factor. And that would be one of my main things to say, is put a hood on, travel him with that. So it just shuts him into himself a little bit. See how he is with that. Do more trips at home so he gets used to traveling on there. If he's traveling on his own, try him with a companion, see if he prefers a companion with him, and just sort of work out what the problem is with him, really.
Okay, so
Yeah.
get to the root cause of the problem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can also get these special blankets to put on them, which are supposed to de-stress them.
Oh, okay,
Good.
cool. Okay, so we've got an anonymous attendee who's asked, what is the most important thing a judge looks for? Manners, way of going, skin and coat, conformation.
Manners,
All of it.
movement, and confirmation all go together. You've got to have it all, basically. You've got to walk in the ring like you've stole the ring. You've got to go beautifully with manners and freedom of movement. You've got to stand in front of the judge with beautiful confirmation, walk away, trot back, nice and sound, level. Then you've got to have a judge that gets on, enjoys the ride, and doesn't want to get off. So it's important that you try and get all these box ticked. Rome wasn't built in a day. It happens slowly. Just don't rush the situation, and steadily it'll all pull together.
Fantastic.
I've got one thing to add to that. I think a lot of people think they're going to go in the ring, so they get very nervous.
They do.
But in fact, you have to absolutely, and I think a lot of riders drop their heads and what I call crouch when they're in you've got to walk in there like you're actually
steal that ring.
The King or Queen of England, basically.
Yeah.
Very good. So another anonymous attendee has said, any tips for retraining a racehorse that is very on the forehand? Katie, can I ask you for one, and then Richard will come to you for one.
Yeah. Is he natural? Is he on the forehand? When you lunge him, is he naturally on the forehand? This is what we talked about earlier. What's the angle of his shoulder like? And it'll give you an idea if he's going to pick up from that. You can do some pole work exercises with him, do some other exercises, start lifting him slowly, look how you're riding him, get some advice. Am I riding it downhill? Get the trainers to help you, teach him to sit up. Sit up yourself, bring your contact up, bring your core up, he will start to come up. But if he's naturally built downhill, he'll only come up to a certain degree.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Richard?
Yeah, it just depends. One would really want to see a picture of this horse to see where the problem lies. But in schooling, I think a lot of people just go trotting round and round and round, boring their horses to death. Use exercises. One of your best schooling exercises are transitions. And you can use them plentifully without what I call exhausting your horse or getting yourself and the horse into a muck sweat. It is what I call tactics. And as I say, if this horse has got a high enough front, then the work will bring him off his forehand. But if his neck comes out of the middle of his shoulders, you've got a problem.
Okay, thank you. So Alana's come back and said, what counts as a blemish for ex-racers?
Pin firing, bow tendons, sore shins, anything like that. Because you can have a horse that's very good conformation, but because of his racing career, he's developed, say, sore shins, for example. And in the amateur classes, in the in-hand classes, you'd say this is a very, very nice horse. Pity about the sore shins, not your fault. And if he's nice enough, he's going to do well. But basically, you do say, okay, it's got what it has. But taking Katie's thing earlier, bad conformation, like bad hocks, curbs, tied in below the knee, those are the things that will count against him, not so much the blemishes.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the next question. Do you think the rules will ever change on ridden being fully ridden, the ridden classes being needing to be fully shod? Mine is barefoot and I feel like we're missing out. So you can do the showing league if you're barefoot, if your horse is barefoot. Richard, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, we've had Katie's also been through this a bit.
Yep.
Remember, these horses wore shoes when they were racing, and all the time. Okay, they were plates. And I think that it is a question of if you are on, as often happens now, you have surfaces like at Arena UK and places like that. But very often, your grass ring is hard and slippery. And apart from the fact that the horse will not keep its feet so well, you've also got the fact that on the hard surface, the feet will wear away. So you're going to create more of a problem. And certainly, we've taken at judges' conferences, we have taken a poll from the judges saying, do you, as ride judges, wish to have the horses shod or not? And overwhelmingly, they all want them shod.
Mhm. Great. Okay, but they can do the unaffiliated showing
And of
league.
course,
They
you
can
don't have
absolutely do it.
to do unshod as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So, anonymous attendee said, a general question for Katie. I'm struggling to teach my lad to go into the contact. I've done lots of groundwork, just looking for any guidance.
Again, you've got to, it'd be interesting. I'd love to see the horse. Some of these questions, it would be lovely to see. If it's not taking the contact, have you had its teeth checked is one thing. Have you, what other bits have you tried? Try things that like neutral bits so he's happier in there. Maybe the neutral bit that's shaped so that there's got the tongue pressure, he's more comfortable in there. See where he's happy, jiggle around, get lots and lots of advice. Then look at your hands. How are you riding him? Are you riding him too strong? Pick him up, then say self carry, pick him up, then say self carry, and just steadily just get him to take that contact. Maybe ask somebody to sit on, see what they think, get advice all the way through. He should take that contact. If his mouth is well balanced through, you can use your contact, pick it up, and then let himself carry himself. My racehorses, I like to teach them self carry because I like the judges to get on and have a light contact anyway. So if he likes that and you take a light contact, just pick him up and say, come on, self carry up and pick yourself up to it and see how you go.
Great, thank you. Your volume's just coming a bit in and out, Katie,
Sorry,
occasionally, but you're okay. We
yeah,
can
sorry.
more or less hear you. It's okay.
I'll go over my.
So another anonymous attendee said, in the ridden final championships at Aintree, how much weighting does confirmation have compared to ridden? A few horses wrong-legged in their shows, but were placed above ones that went correctly. So how would confirmation take precedent?
You've got two
Um,
judges.
Yeah, you've got two judges, and the great thing is that um, if a judge rides a horse and it goes on the wrong leg, you could probably say it was rider error, and that you know, unless the horse keeps going on the wrong leg, which is a different thing. But I think basically, if the horse has gone on the wrong leg, if it is an outstanding animal conformation wise, it's still better than a horse that goes on the correct leg but isn't such a good animal.
Okay, thank you. All done that. So the next one is, are sarcoids a big no-no for the showing scene? I've got a lovely horse who's retraining nicely and I would love to do the challenge classes with him, but he has sarcoids which are too close to arteries to treat safely.
Mm.
It depends, basically. It's the challenge. So he's got to do the jumping, do the show. He'll get good marks for that. So it's all on mark system, on style for that too. Personally, if I was judging him, I would not hold it against him because I'd feel if the horse is happy, it's not causing him a disturbance in the work that he's doing. I think it would be unfair if the judge held it against him.
Yeah.
Would you
Okay.
agree, Richard?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you're not actually assessing the conformation.
No.
Your style of jumping, performance, etc.
So you should be allowed to, if the horse performs, I would
Yeah,
carry on and do it.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in the challenge class, wonderful. And Dawn has said, as a follow-up to the confirmation part, is it essential to have a groom, or can you go alone?
You can go alone, but it's more helpful to have a groom. If not, as you know, and we've all said, you meet so many friends, there'll be other people in the ring that can come in as long as you've got your grooming bag outside and you say to another competitor, could you bring it in the ring and could you give me a hand? People are out there to help. And not everybody's lucky enough to have a groom to go with them. So you'll always find somebody that can come in and help you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
second that, because when
usually,
in my very short showing career that I did, I only had people that I found basically on the
Yes,
showgrounds that helped me.
and
there'll always
usually,
be somebody.
Yeah,
yeah, but usually the stewards are jolly helpful with
They are
somebody
too.
on their own. Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, we've got to our last question. I think this is one for Margaret.
Oh, well done, Margaret.
So this anonymous attendee has said, is there a reason rosettes don't go down to sixth place anymore in qualifying classes, especially if most of these classes are so big? Also, if we don't get a rosette as the show doesn't have them, how do we get those rosettes?
Okay, so I'll answer the first part. So unfortunately, just cutbacks. So that's we cut from 6 down to 4. Now, if there is a lot of entries, we do allow the show to split the class. So that will mean that we'll give out 7 or 8 rosettes as opposed, because we'll run through 2 separate qualifiers. And then sometimes the rosettes don't make it to the show. So I'd either send them to the secretary afterwards, or I will get the names and addresses of the people that have won them and send them out, because we do realise the sweat, blood and tears that go into winning these rosettes, and we would really like everybody to have their rosettes. So just please email me if it doesn't, if you don't get it for some reason. Royal Mail, I'm blaming them. They are not the most reliable, but we do try and all the shows.
Wonderful. Oh, goodness me, we got through all of the questions. Thank you so much, everyone who answered questions. That was a marathon. Right, so I'm going to wrap up now because we've run way, way over time. And I need to go and relieve the babysitter. So first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to Katie and Richard, who have been so unbelievably generous with their time tonight. I also need to thank Margaret for coming along and answering those questions too, and all the RDOs for putting on so many step into showing clinics. We really hope to see you at one at some point this year. If they go well from March to June, then we might just put a couple more in September and October. But I can't stress enough, all of these questions that we've answered, all of them, you could get them answered at a Step Into Showing clinic if you fancied coming along. Or we've got one more popping into the chat. So Jenny has said a huge thank you to Margaret for the rosettes that are sent out. They are beautiful and generous. Thank you to tonight's experts. So helpful and very much appreciated. That's quite all right, Jenny. Thank you so much for coming along. So I am going to stop recording now, but I hope to see everyone at some point at a Step Into Showing clinic and or a competition.
Thank you so much for hosting tonight.
My pleasure.
And look forward to seeing you.
Yes, absolutely.
And everybody with their horses.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you.